Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and listening to the Stop the Nonsense show. I'm your host, Jim Melrose, and today I thought we should talk about tariffs. It's a hot topic lately, apparently in the news, in the country, the government, and around the world. It looks like we've ruffled some feathers with tariffs to our neighbors north and west of us, and maybe even some south. Also people in Europe and I guess all over the world. We're throwing tariffs around like it's the new trend, so to speak. What exactly is tariffs? And I was talking to my wife. We were watching the news recently, and the government was saying they're going to slap 25% here and 25% there, and maybe they actually put 10% on China. China is our biggest, looks like, problem. So I started explaining tariffs to my wife, and no, I didn't mansplain it to her, but she understood it. But she said after I explained it to her, she said I need to talk about this on this podcast. So here I am. Before I go any further, I just wanted to let you guys know how I do have a little bit of credibility in this area. I do have a business degree. I also minored in international business. I went to Florida Atlantic, FAU, go Owls, down in South Florida. And I've lived around the world a little bit, and I've actually purchased stuff from overseas, and I've experienced the taxes that I had to pay, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I just wanted to establish a little bit of credibility to myself, and then putting a little bit of stop the nonsense flavor into this conversation. So the way tariffs work is, as everybody knows, we put taxes on goods that are coming from other countries. What I don't think people understand, or most people probably don't understand, my wife didn't, is the taxes are paid by the buyer who is on the receiving side. So let's say China is sending something over to us. We are the ones who are paying taxes. A great example is me. I purchased a Segway. I don't know if you guys have heard of this website. It's called Alibaba. It's kind of like Amazon, but it's for the rest of the world, I suppose. And I wanted to buy a Segway, and the Segways in the States are pretty expensive. Just to give you an idea, they're about $3,000 just for one Segway. And I wanted one. I do have a property, I have a farm, and it's easier to get around in a Segway than walking around. It's a good sized property. So I started looking on Alibaba. I've never purchased anything on there. So I bought one for about half the price, a little bit over half the price. And after, going through the website, I'm concerned, like, am I going to really get this from China? Or are they just going to take my money and run? And they guaranteed it. Alibaba does back things up, in case anything happens, they will reimburse. They say they do. Fortunately, I didn't have to figure out if that's true or not. But when it arrived, the price that I paid for it, they gave me a price, and they also tacked on. They told me when it arrives here, the port. It arrived in California, actually. I guess China's on the other side. It arrived in California, and it was going to get to me through FedEx. I'd already paid for shipping and everything, but the port here also required a tax. It wasn't much. I think it was a little over $100 just for the tax. I paid that, not those Chinese people who sent it to me from China. I had to pay that. So just so you know, the recipient is the one who gets taxed. And I guess the idea is so whoever is buying from other countries, once they get taxed, let's say now it's 25% tax on my $100 just tripled or whatever. The idea is, well, maybe I should go buy my $3,000 Segway that's here in the US. I hope that makes a little bit sense, but let me explain it a little bit better. Again, not mansplaining this, like my wife might think, because she understood it, and I'm going to simplify it. And what I'm about to say is what I learned in college when it came to import and export. That was my passion, import and exporting goods. So if somebody, let's say China makes a cake, a chocolate cake, let's say that they're good at it. They make them really tasty, delicious chocolate cakes for $5. It costs us $5 to buy a chocolate cake that just came from China. They have cheaper ingredients, cheaper labor, cheaper everything to make a $5 chocolate cake, right? Unfortunately, due to our higher labor costs and ingredients and things that we have to do, we can't make that cake $5. We can make a cake, sure, we can make anything, but we can make that cake probably for more like, let's say, $8, right? So it makes more sense that it's the same cake, $5. Why wouldn't you? That's just business 101, right? Let's get our cake from China. But now, if we put some tariffs on this, let's say you slap on 100% tariff, that's $10, and now we're like, whoa, China's going to send us that $5 cake when it gets to the port in the U.S. We are going to have to pay the port authorities that extra 100%, so now $10 to get that same cake. And we're like, well, screw that. I'm just going to go buy that $8 cake, right? That's what tariffs do. That's how it works. That's basic economics. That's as simple as I can explain it from my college years. I remember this is how import export works. And the country or the people that can make things cheaper, better, they export and we import, or vice versa. That's how it works. Now, if you stick on a tariff, that's just going to raise costs. Again, we're the ones who are going to be paying for it, and we're not going to pay for it. The mentality is, so we don't buy their products because now it's expensive, so we're just going to buy our own products. Tariffs, I'm not saying tariffs are bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying stop the nonsense. Just that's not how it works. There are two elements to tariffs. One is yes, you raise taxes as they come into the port, so we have to pay more taxes. So we hopefully avoid them. If we're going to do that, the second element, which most people seem to leave out conveniently, the government or whoever leaves out the second element, that we ought to help people make those same products cheaper and better, or just as good, if not better. We need to, yes, tack on those taxes so it avoids competition. That's what tariffs do. But we also have to help American people to make things, the same products, as good and as cheap. If we can do that, hell yeah. Put all the tariffs you want. We don't want foreign goods. You know, we can make that same cake here, if not cheaper. And that's the second element that we need to focus on when it comes to tariffs. Tariffs alone, by itself, is going to hurt us. Who wants to increase prices? Who wants to go buy that $3,000 Segway when I could have bought it for, $1,600 with tax or whatever? It comes to $1,700, $1,800. Well, that makes sense, right? Why would I want to do that? But now, if you tack on taxes and now my Segway's 3,000 from China, I may as well just buy it here, right? The shipping is faster, and I don't know. That makes sense. So hopefully I explained that. So we need to stop the nonsense with just tariffs alone. We have to help people make good, cheap products and promote our products. By the way, the U.S., don't get me wrong, we make good products. We have a lot of good products that are freaking good, and they're name brand products. You got your Nikes, our iPhones. We've got Ford and Chevy automobiles, GM. These are things that we make. Pepsi, Coca-Cola. I mean, on and on it goes. By the way, fun fact, even though iPhones are an American product, they are made in China. They're assembled in China. It's our technology, but we assemble them in China. Did you know Nike? Some of their assembly or they're made in China. I saw something on a talk show host. They say they're made by little hands. It's funny, but it's not. In China. Uh, Another fun fact: did you know our president has a clothing line? He has shirts and ties that are made in India. Yeah, look it up. Our president does make his own products in other countries too. I guess it's okay to put tariffs on everything. Levi jeans, those are classic American icon. Wranglers. Levi's, by the way, are made in Vietnam. They put them, I guess, sew them in Vietnam. And I heard, I actually looked this up, in Vietnam and Mexico. A lot of our automobiles too. We do have them assembled in Mexico and Canada. Some of the American cars, if you look at the stickers on the door, they are assembled in our neighboring countries. And why is that? It's labor, right? It comes down to labor. Um, as much as we don't make products as much like China does, maybe, or Mexico, or whoever else that we import from, we also have good things. We're more versed in technologies and services. Uh, we make, or we don't make, but we have things like, you know, uh, SpaceX. I mean, think about SpaceX. The technology that's SpaceX. We we seem to go, into space and back like it's a taxi, right? Um, Even Amazon, Google, Apple, Uber, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, we're good at technology and other services. We don't make products like other countries like China. Uh, we are good at these other things that these other countries aren't good at. I guess China's not, um, with their TikTok, are trying to catch up. And by the way, competition is good. If we put tariffs on countries, so we block them, that actually stops competition, right? Competition is good. That's another business 101. I can tell you guys that competition is good. It helps make better, cheaper products, and it improves products. I can tell you, I don't know if you guys remember back in the old days. Some of you may not be as old, but there used to be phones we used to use that were not iPhones. Motorola, BlackBerry, Nextel. Um, what was that? Nokia. Lord knows in the early 90s or mid 90s that those were the phones that were popular. And then guess what? Free market iPhone blew everybody's mind. They came up with better phones. And then sure enough, Galaxy came around. So right now most people use is Samsung Galaxies or iPhones, right? Competition makes things better. It helps improve products, technology improves, but if you block things, there is no competition. Imagine if we didn't let any other products move forward and we just promoted one certain product, it really is bad for goods and products and advancements. It makes people want to make better products, so they sell their stuff because it's better and it's cheaper. That's what competition creates. Tariffs protects domestic companies from foreign competition. The other thing I think a lot of people don't realize, which I explained a minute ago with the Segway example, the taxes that we pay to pick up our stuff from the ports that come here, that goes to the government. So it's revenue for the government. It increases revenue for the government. So that is something else that I don't think the government tells us or people know. And it doesn't help the economy other than, yeah, it gives the government more money. Not the average American are actually going to be paying more when it comes to goods and services because now we're not going to import. We're just going to build them here. And that chocolate cake is doubled in price, right? Um, but tariffs goes both ways. And China, I heard, we put 10% tax on them. They put 10% tax on us. So we can't, when we import stuff to their side, the same happens. So now they're going to have to pay higher taxes to pick up their stuff from their ports. So they're going to buy more Chinese products. I think, generally speaking, people should stick to what they're good at. If you can make a cake for $5 and I can't, you're not going to tell your mechanic who's really good at what he does, fixing your car or building a car, oh, now you need to go make a cake because, you know, that's what we do. Uh, we need to stick to what we're good at. We're good at technology. We're good at services. Uh, I'm thinking of other services that we provide. Our stock market, the way we have the biggest stock market in the world. That we have bonds and stocks and things that make people money, right? How about our insurance? We have some large mammoth insurance companies. AIG is still around. AIG is global. They provide insurance all around the world. So we provide services, not necessarily goods, like as intangible goods, and we should stick to what we're good at. Lord knows that's how we got here. We are like the richest country in the world, right? The greatest, richest country in the world. And it's not because we can put shoes together or we can assemble, I don't know, whatever we bring from China. That's not what made us great. What made us great is what we do. Free market, let competition rule, let competition do its thing. And then that's how we succeed. We always argue about socialist countries, right? Socialism is not good. If you put, restrictions on things and the government keeps their hand in everything, we bitch and moan about that, right? And, we don't want that. We want the free society, free market. And that's why we've been doing so well. That's why we've been so prosperous. The more you block things, the more it's gonna, I guess, hurt us. And that's the stop the nonsense thing. So I guess we just need to figure out how to, I guess, address our high labor and wages. That's the problem we're having. That's why we can't make a chocolate cake for $5. I'll give you another example. I have on my property, like I said earlier, I have a lot of blueberries. It's actually a blueberry farm, and there's a lot of blueberries here. I can't pick them all. I have never measured, like weighed all the blueberries that it produces every year. If I had to guess, it's about, 15 to $20,000. I'm sorry, pounds a year. I have no idea. It's a lot. It's a lot of freaking blueberries. I can't pick them. And guess what? I can't afford to hire people to pick them. At least not people who want minimum wage at whatever. What is minimum wage? $7, $8 right now, if not higher. Nobody wants to come pick blueberries for less than that. Shoot, I sell them for $4 a pound. Can't pay somebody $7 an hour to come pick a few pounds. It's just not profitable. By the way, so yes, I could use some migrant workers if they're willing. I'm not going to force people, but if somebody wants to come pick blueberries, I'll split it with them. I'll split the $4. Pick them. You keep two. Keep two per pound. It's our labor in this country. I think the problem is our labor. And again, maybe it's not a problem, but if you're going to force people to make chocolate cakes now, we have to figure out our labor situation. Either use technology to make that cake turn out to be $5, like, other countries that sell us their cakes for $5, or screw it. You know what? We'll stick to our insurance and savings and bonds and technology. We'll go to space back and forth. Sure, we don't need to be making cake. But if we're going to put tariffs on people, we have to help the country, the people, to do better with making cheaper, better products to be competitive. Then maybe we can export to those countries our cakes, right? We can make more goods and export them there. We don't have to, make our Levi's jeans in Vietnam. We can do it here because we figured out our labor situations. I'm not saying we should lower our labor costs because we can't. We just can't. We're in a position where we keep having higher cost of living, and we can't go backwards with that. But without that other second element, helping people to do better, making better products, opening up the market, and let people figure it out. And then add your tariffs. That's the only way we're going to be successful, because we can't just stick on a tariff, 25% tariff with everybody and say, well, screw you. It doesn't work that way. Prices will go up and things will not be as well made or whatever if we try to make them here, because we're just not good at certain things. We don't make, you know, plastic spoons or whatever else we get from China. I'm trying to think. Most things come from China. Almost everything, right, is made there. It's they have an advantage with their labor. And you know what? Let's stick to what we're good at. And if we don't want to do that, stick to what we're good at, and we want to make more things, fine. Let's help people build, make products or build them cheaper here. That is the missing element with the tariffs. So, um, having said all that, I'm just saying, stop the nonsense with tariffs. Stop the nonsense by itself. Tariffs are good with that second element. Let's help people make better chocolate cakes. Otherwise, stop the nonsense. Anyway, I hope that was informative. I hope that kind of, you know, shed some light on how it works. And hey, everybody's, I guess, uh, have their own opinion, and that's my thoughts. And like I said, I am coming from my own personal experience from purchasing stuff from other countries. I've lived in other countries, and I do have a business degree, and some of it is in international business, but it's food for thought at the very least. So, again, thanks for listening to the Stop the Nonsense show. I'm your host, Jim Melrose. Now go and buy yourself a delicious chocolate cake. American made, of course. And maybe something off of Temu. Take care.